One quick thing I wanted to take note of is this particular video, any videos for that matter, for working with Dreamweaver. I didn't mention this previously. You're going to want to use what's called Code View. And Code View you can see right here on the top left, as opposed to Design View, which I believe by default when you install Dreamweaver and you double click it and you start it, it starts in Design View. So just one quick note before we start on the final portion of the GoDaddy mailing method. Let's get started with the GoDaddy mailer, or the GoDaddy mailing method, I should say. So this method can work with any mailer that accepts SMTP emails. This particular hijacked or hacked version that I've created here has got some really cool stuff that I'm going to show you in a minute. But first, let's go over to GoDaddy and grab our email. So we've created all these email accounts in the first tutorial on this. GoDaddy does conveniently have an export button, so we'll go ahead and click that button. You'll receive this pop-up here, and there's no need to grab all of this information, so you'll go ahead and click Select All, which will deselect everything. Click Username, and then click Export. And then zoom out. With your export, you might have some skills in Microsoft Excel. I don't, unfortunately, so I will be working with Dreamweaver to show you what we need to do with these email addresses. Now, before I go any further, the format that we need to have for the mailer, and this is pretty synonymous with any SMTP mailer. You're going to need 4 pieces of information. You're going to need the SMTP host, the port, the email address, and the password. Now we've got a list of email addresses, so we're not worried about that. We know what the email addresses are. We know what the password is because when we set all those bulk email addresses, we did it with the same email address. It was a constant. The SMTP host is something that you can find either by contacting GoDaddy directly or simply Googling. It's very simple. I think it's secureserver.net. The port, most SMTP providers will give you the option of using what's called SSL, or Secure Connection, Secure Socket Layers, that's what it stands for, or port 25, which is the default port for mailing. This particular mailer accepts both, but I do run it through port 25. So we need to make a list with all our email addresses containing this information in order to plug into the mailer. And I think I'm pushing the wrong buttons there. There we go. So we've got a CSV file here with a bunch of email addresses, and the first thing we're going to do is click on column A, right click, and then click Insert, and that will give us a nice column to work with for the SMTP host and the port number. The next thing we're going to do is click on column C, and we don't need to do anything with column C. I'm going to go ahead and stretch this out a little bit so you guys can see a little better with what I'm working with here. So let's grab the SMTP host information, and I know I already have it saved in this mailer here, so I'm going to go ahead and grab it. When you drag and drop this information on the server, you will see a box at the bottom here that is essentially blank, and it's going to say SMTP info. This is where we're going to drop the list with those 4 pieces of information that we need, which are namely, again, the host, port, email address, and password. In between each of those, I should also point out we need to have a colon. Okay. So I've grabbed the SMTP host and the port number. I'm going to go ahead and right click and paste it here. And just take note that I've got the SMTP host followed by a colon, followed by the port number, followed by a colon. Now there is a trick to drag and drop this all the way down, but you'll see if I just drag it, if I can get my mouse over it, that it increases the numbers in Excel. See, the port number went to 25, 26, 27. We don't want that. We want the same information consistently for every account. I just clicked Control Z to undo it. So what you do is get your mouse to look like that icon. I suppose that's the correct terminology. Hold down the Control button and then drag all the way down to your last email, and then let go of the Control button. And what that will do is populate the same information over and over and over again. In column C, we are going to type in the, we'll call it the master password that we assign to all these email addresses. And the same thing. So I'm going to hold Control. I'm going to drag these all the way down. And there we go. We've got a list with the host, the port number, the email address, and the password. Unfortunately, this is not good enough. We need to remove these spaces, or at least we should. So if you've been following along and you've gotten yourself a copy of Dreamweaver, a bootlegged copy, this is a great chance to use it. So I just went and created a new file, a PHP file. It comes with this, we got the pop-ups again. There we go. It comes with this sort of default information after you click File, New, and I just clicked PHP, Create. I've got all this information at the top, so we don't need that stuff. We're not creating a web page or a program. So highlight and delete that, and what I'm going to do is paste all this information for the SMTP information, but we have all these spaces in between. So the first thing I'm going to do, and you know what, I forgot to mention, in between all of these we have the email address followed by the password without a colon. So the first thing I'm going to do is highlight that, and you might be savvy at Excel to be able to figure this out. If you can, there might be a better way, probably is. This is the way that I know how to do it. Highlight the password, including the white space, and then click Control F. That populates a find and replace box. You can see I have the white space here that's been highlighted. You want to ensure this button here, ignore white space, has been checked. And what we're going to do is replace it with colon and then the password. Replace all. Abracadabra. And it didn't work. And the reason it didn't work is because it looks like I've populated the incorrect password over and over and over again. So, let's go back to Excel and see what happened. And I didn't even notice that. So I go ahead and delete that. Type in the correct password. What may have happened is I didn't hold the Control button down. Okay, I've got the correct password there. Let's try this again. Highlight the white space and the password. Control F, colon, no spaces, password, replace all. And as you can see, it brought everything nice and close, all on one line, the way that we wanted it to, between the email address and the password. Same thing between the port number and colon and the email address. We're just going to highlight that one space, Control F, click inside this replace box, just make sure there's no spaces or nothing, click replace, and as you can see, it brought everything nice and over. There. Now I've got a nice list of information to send out from. We highlight and copy that information and paste it into our external SMTP information. These are the email accounts, obviously, that we're going to be sending through. So that's been they've been created in GoDaddy. We've formatted them in the way with the host name, the port number, the email address, and the password, with colons in between, so they're good to go. We can now mail through them. But let me show you some of the hacks that I did with this mailer, since we're here. First thing I did is, this is all tokenized. I know it doesn't say anything, but this box will now accept tokens, unlike the original version. And I'm assuming everybody watched the video on tokenization, so you should know exactly what that means. And exactly what it does. So I'll go ahead and put that into the subject line. Subject line is tokenized as well. The other feature that I added was the from email address. See if I can zoom in. These radio buttons here. Now, the only way I can try to explain this is actually to mail and show you what it means. So that's what I'll do in a second. But in a nutshell, this is the if you have an email address here specific that you want to send from, it will be that. That was for information above. From email is the same email that you're sending to. And this third option here is from the email account being sent from, which would be one of these accounts here at the bottom. But I might do a little coding so that you can see exactly how that works. The other thing I did is with the first mailer, the first version of this mailer, and I didn't originally code it, the information echoed out at the bottom of the page. So what I did is when you start mailing, everything's contained within a box, and it sort of echoes itself out within that box. Let's talk about limits. Now, we know that we can do 25K per day. That's based on 100 email accounts through 250 relays. So you don't want to set up this mailer and start blasting through it. And I've done the math. The math is actually quite simple. If we send an email once every, you know what? I believe it was 7 seconds. I think it was actually 17 per minute. So if we do 17 times 60 minutes times 24 for the day, we have a total of 24,480 emails that can be sent. So with that said, 17 emails a minute, we need to divide 60 seconds by 17, which gives us 3.5. So if we send an email every 4 seconds through this system, we will be under the 25K limit. Now that's the bare minimum. If you really want to stay under the radar, my recommendation is to aim for the 15 to 20K area. Now, this is a cheap system, a cheap way of sending a decent amount of emails per day. There's no reason why you cannot take this same script and throw it into other hosting providers. The cool thing about this method is that it can be replicated anywhere. You can go to HostGator, you can go to any hosting provider, drop it in, bulk create your email accounts, connect to their SMTP host and their port, and make this system work there. You could theoretically have 5, 10 versions of this software running simultaneously to dramatically increase your numbers. When you do have this script up, remember to go in and change the password. And the password was in a file called login.php. Now if we go there and zoom out, you can actually just do a search. You can do this in Notepad. Search for this word. I keep on pushing the wrong buttons here. 3NT3R. That's the current password to get to log into the server with the username admin. Change this to whatever kooky password, crazy difficult login password that you want as a means of making this unique and secure for yourself. Again, that file within the files that you received for the script is called login. I'll go ahead and open it. I right-clicked, open with Notepad. We see all this code here, so what the heck does all this mean? It doesn't matter what it means. Make sure your cursor is blinking at the top, because Notepad has a funny way of only doing searches up or searches down. We'll go ahead and click Control F. What do I want to find? It's asking me. 3, capital N, capital T, 3, capital R, find next. And I can see it's right here. So you're going to change this to your password, include, make sure not to disclude the quotes around the password here. There's two instances of it. Make the change, click File, Save, and that's it. Okay, so let me revise this script here just to show you exactly what I mean by those radio buttons with the email. So don't mind this code here. I'm actually going to modify it slightly to show you how it works. Whoops, I think I forgot to exit the script. So I'm not actually going to do any mailing in this particular example. I just want you guys to have a clear understanding of this particular section here. Okay, so if I click the first one, above information, we'll make it info@socialemailextractor.net as the email that it's from. I think I would have mastered these zoom buttons by now. The first, similar with Dangerous Mailer, the first thing you're going to want to do is click Browse at the top left. And we're going to scroll down and find your emails that you want to send to. Click that. Click the Load Addresses from File button. which will populate your email addresses right here. I'm just going to take out this first one because that's info@socialemailextractor.net. And I'm actually going to grab a tokenized message from the tokenization PowerPoint. And maybe what I'll do is break it down just a little bit so that you can see it. So this is basically it. Hi, hello, hey. We did all this before. There's my message. There's my phone. And in the first instance here, I'm going to say use the information above. Now let's zoom out and click send and see what happens here. Populate my SMTP information. Actually, before that, one thing that you should do is click HTML. Most emails are HTML anyways. Check for a real existence of an email address. Ensure that you use an external SMTP provider, and everything else you can leave as default. Now when I click send, we can see at the bottom here email being sent from info@socialemailextractor.net. That is the case with information above. Now let's say same email that you're sending to. We'll click send. At the bottom here we see email being sent from soma56 king56@yahoo.ca. Now what that means is I'm sending the email to this email, but it's also going to look like it's from that email. Now let's do the third option. From email is from email account being sent from. Sent. Email being sent from francis@anchortextbacklinks.com. Now that email address is the one that is connected to GoDaddy servers. So that is why it works. Now let's go back into the code here, and let me take out the exit from that script. And I'll save that. Go here, update that, go there. And I'm going to put a delay on this of 5 seconds just to show you what's happening in this box at the bottom. I've got 3 emails to send out. Here we go. Actually, before I do, I just wanted to say quickly, what it basically does is it does an MX check to see if the receiving email server is available to receive email for that specific email address. It shows you the message, the scrambled message, so we should see variations of this, and then it shows you the total of emails sent. I believe that's last. It will tell you if the email was successfully sent or not, and then it will say something to the effect of, 1 of 3 done, 1 of 4 done. So this is going to be really, really slow, but it will give you a good idea of the process. Don't know if you saw it. It said, hey, my name is Barb. Let's see if we get a different name here. Hey, my name is Amanda. says error, you forgot to increase the maximum number of emails.